Good evening, you're watching Estuary TV News. Coming up, the European Union and international business in Lincolnshire. Our man Dave Nunn prepares for a night on the streets, and I'll be talking to Graham Raddings about the future of gaming and gamers and games developers. Welcome to Estuary TV News. I'm Hugh Richards. First of all, it's over to Richard Morris for the news headlines.
Hello there. The body of a woman has been found in Hull Marina. Humberside police were called shortly before midday on Monday after reports of a body floating in the water in the marina on Castle Street in Hull. The body has been recovered. The death is not being treated as suspicious and inquiries are ongoing to determine her identity. While many of us this time of year are relaxing in front of a fire, Shoreline Housing Partnership are raising awareness of homeless people in our region. Chief Executive Tony Bramley has been encouraging staff to take part in the scheme, which sees people volunteering to sleep one night out in the cold. Shoreline is hoping to raise £1,000 for the YMCA charity, and the charity in turn is hoping to raise £30,000 overall to help vulnerable people in our area. We asked Andrew Hornsby of the YMCA how much of a difference this drive will make.
It does, yes, it helps. The more sort of partners and agencies we get involved, then of course that message extends around the region. So it's a really important part of what we hope Sleep Easy will do.
Yes, I mean, if the commitment's there, we expect you to be there from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. There's no shirking part way through the night if it gets a bit chilly. So yes, I mean, people need to be wrapped up warm, they need to be knowing what to expect. But then we're only doing what, sadly, some people have to do every night of the week, and they don't choose to do it, they have to do it.
There's new facilities at Grimsby Leisure Centre aimed at helping disabled people get back into fitness. The bid cost nearly £200,000 and has allowed Sport England to give the centre equipment and a full-time member of staff to help accessibility for users. The services on offer include adapted ice skating, cycling and toning tables. We spoke to Sue Wells to see how the bid took place.
Links Inspire put a bid in to Sport England. The funding is just short of 200,000 over 3 years, so that funding has now been committed for the purchase of equipment and for a dedicated officer to support the service. Obviously our aim is to make this completely sustainable, so we'd like to think in 3 years certainly the equipment will still be here, but we also want to continue providing that support and advice and guidance. So clearly the more people that use the equipment, the more we can keep that supportive service running, and that really is important for us.
That's all from me for now, and I'll be back with more news soon. Bye for now.
Thank you, Richard. In this year's general election, the issue of Europe is likely to take a leading role. Businesses complain of EU legislation being over-bureaucratic and costing money, but for one Lincolnshire company, the EU has been a welcome driver of growth over the last 50 years. New legislation this year could mean huge expansion into the European market with some of the world's biggest auto companies. James Dunn looks at what the EU has done for one local company and its hometown of Louth.
In half a century, Luxus in Louth estimates their products have prevented up to 1,000 tonnes of landfill. And during that time, the green revolution has turned them into something quite fashionable.
We suddenly became fashionable in the 80s. We became green. We didn't know what to do with ourselves because suddenly we had a label placed upon us. Prior to that, we were treated like somebody running a scrapyard. But today, we've got even more credibility as we move forward into the 21st century with our really technical compounds for the market. Not only automotive, we do quite a lot of work in civil engineering and that sort of area as well.
Their recycled plastic compounds are used to make everything from wheelie bins to car interiors. And they've just announced £600,000 of funding from the EU as part of a £2 million expansion. It's great news for Luxus, but also for Louth.
We employ 156 people today. We've added 14 people in the recent past because of the new developments on the new lightweight product. We think that we're an important part of the local economy and that we have, over the 50 years, driven it forward.
But it's legislation, not funding, that they hope will drive growth.
The new legislation this year is the fact that 85% of a car has to be recyclable. In the future, they're going to have to prove that any component that goes into the car is recyclable as well. The big plus for us is it means that more recycled material will be used into the vehicles in the future.
And their innovative work is so important that it's even recognised by the local council, which actually invested in their bid for EU cash.
East Lindsey is always looking to work with innovative companies, innovative individuals that can actually deliver on something for the future. And this is what is fantastic about this. The number of employees, the work they do on R&D, and their expansion ideas as well.
And over the coming months, we're hoping to speak to more businesses who've either suffered or benefited from the European Union. If that's you, please get in touch. You're watching Estuary TV News. Later in this programme, we foresee the immediate future for Waltham Parish Council, and Dan Kemp will bring you all the sports news. Gaming is one of the biggest media industries in the UK, employing more than 7,000 people and making around £6 billion in profit. Here to talk about one of the biggest gaming events of the year, Graham Raddings, who heads the Games Development courses at Grimsby Institute. Graham, welcome. Thank you very much for coming on. What is this big event that's coming up this weekend?
So the event we've got going here is what's called the Global Game Jam. It's an annual event, but it's a global event, so it's held all over the world, in all the different countries all around the world. And the idea is that collaborative teams get together from all different disciplines, whether it's art or graphics, 2D, 3D, programming. All the different teams come together, all people, like-minded people come together in one space. They announce a global theme to the world, and then you have 48 hours to make a game.
And so when you say everybody comes into one space, is it a physical space, or is it a digital space? Is it the whole world involved? And but you can't get the whole world in one room?
No, it's like regional centres. And so the previous 2 years we've gone over to Hull, and Hull have hosted it. But we decided, in collaboration with Hull, that we would host it this year in Grimsby. So we're I suppose the Humber region's regional area for the Game Jam. There's others all around the country, but ours will be one of the biggest, certainly. And you get all those people in one building, make sure they've got food and water, and that's it. They go. You announce the theme, and we're off.
And so, and do you know what the theme will be for this year?
It's all secret. So they never tell. Nobody in the world will know the theme until 5 o'clock on the Friday, and then after that, you've got to keep it a secret until the last country in the world has announced it. And then off you go. You can make. It doesn't have to be video games, of course. It's video games. It's a game jam. It can be board games, video games, card games, you name it.
And there'll be wherever in your centre here in Grimsby, there'll be communication with people doing the same thing across the globe.
That's right. Yeah. So we've got a lot of people coming to the University Centre in Grimsby where we're holding the event, and we're live streaming that across to all the other centres. There's a global Game Jam live stream which you all sort of have a little slot in. So that's it switches to all the different places around the world, so you can communicate your ideas to different teams and different people. And then you upload your games at the end of that to the Global Game Jam website, and they're judged by the powers that be, the gods, the big gaming gods. And if they're good enough, they get published.
And one day doesn't seem like long enough to make a game.
Well,
I ask because I know quite how much skill and technique is required.
I think the idea is that under pressure, people tend to work, in the games industry anyway, it's a very high pressure industry, obviously not necessarily 48 hours. But it's just it gives it just a time frame to work under, and you don't necessarily have to create a fully finished game. You can just create a level of a game, or you can create a working part of a game. But the idea is really to come together and collaborate, and that's what people do. And to be fair, some finished games do come out of that process, believe it or not.
The creativity required to create a game is just astonishing, isn't it? Because
yes.
it's rather than we think of an artist painting a picture and a visual art, we think of a storyteller or a poet or a novelist creating a work of art in words and by a sequence of actions. And we think of music, we think of sound. But it's a bit like opera, isn't it? All the arts, all the creative skills and craftsmanship come into the one product in creating a game.
That's right. You've got a combined effort of 2D graphic artists, people who can draw, people who can paint digitally, 3D modelers, 3D renderers, character modelers, character riggers.
But it's not just
programmers and engine programmers.
The skill to create those things. It's the imagination to come up with a concept and the vision to see what it should be like in the first place.
The good thing with the Game Jam is that they announce the theme. It's actually a lot more difficult if you don't have that, because people tend to sort of focus and go around the same games they've always played, whereas the theme's been really quite vague. I mean, a couple of years ago, it was just the sound of a heartbeat. That was the theme. So
it's quite conceptual, isn't it?
So exactly. So you can imagine the kind of games that come out of that. You know, it's given the very germ of an idea, and the game jammers then to take it and run with it. And believe it or not, that Sound of a Heartbeat led to a game called Surgeon Simulator.
Right.
And that became, you can buy that now. That's a game that was published in the end. So, you know, big things can happen from a game jam.
It's a little bit more complicated than just operation where you have to take out the heart with tweezers without making the buzzer go off.
So yeah, it's going to be a really good event.
What sort of people have this incredible mix of skills to come and create a game like that? I mean, you teach students here those skills, but they have to be Renaissance princes, don't they, to have that mix of abilities?
I think the misconception with the game jam is that a lot of people don't feel they have anything to contribute, and so they don't attend events like that. But even if you've just come and you've got ideas, and you might not be the greatest artist or the greatest painter or anything in any of those skills, but just collaborating with people who are a bit more like-minded, and it's like a collective. Once they all start feeding off each other and getting the ideas together, these things happen very quickly. So you don't need all the skills. You might just have a skill in one area.
And what about the consumers of these games? We said what a big economy it is now. It's bigger than the film industry, although perhaps not as higher profile as the film industry, maybe because it's something that's done in private rather than in groups and cinemas. But
yeah, I think you're right. I think it's changing. I think that the games industry there's a bit of a misconception. The British games industry is a really thriving industry, and a lot of the biggest games in the world are either created here or have got teams of people that were sort of started their lives off in the games industry here. So it is big business at that end, but at the game jam end, where it actually takes it a bit more back to basics. It's all about the fun of the games. You know, you're not going to create Call of Duty in 48 hours. That takes 500 people 3 years to do something like that. $500 million or something. But, you know, it's the same principle. Games are very fundamentally simple, Hugh. You're just creating something, simple logic and simple fun.
And there's some fundamental human requirement to play games. It doesn't necessarily require electricity and computers and digital technology.
That's very true. We're kind of programmed to play games from the very moment we open our eyes. Peekaboo is a game, and many parents use that to have early interactions with children, and it never really stops. Our lives are revolving around them, really.
How can people get in touch if they want to be involved in the Games Jam?
Right, well, there's a website which is www.globalgamejamgrimsby.com, and you can go there. There's some information on there, and there's a link there to the register page. There's a small registration fee. You can simply Google it.
Graham, thank you very much.
Thank you.
The Sleep Easy event at the end of this month is intended to raise awareness of and money for homeless people in North East Lincolnshire. Sponsored volunteers will sleep rough on what's likely to be one of the coldest nights of the year. One of them is our man Dave Nunn, who's been talking to Sleep Easy veterans to learn what to expect.
YMCA Sleep Easy 2015 is encouraging people to sleep rough for one night next week. YMCA Humber coordinator John Burns says at this time of year, experiencing the cold nights is an eye-opening experience.
Just imagine having to sort of scrape the ice off your cardboard box or your sleeping bag, and then not only have you had a night in the cold, but then you might be a homeless person who's not aware of what things are around you that can help out, and you're out on the streets for the rest of the day in the cold and lonely and with nothing much to do.
Homelessness has been falling in recent years. In 2013 there was an estimated 9,000 homeless households in the Yorkshire and Humber region, but 52% of those who are homeless nationally are under 25, which is in my age group and spurred me on to join in. I'm on top of the Freshly Place car park, and this is where the Sleep Easy for the YMCA for 2015 is going to be taking place, and I think it's important to take part to experience what it's like to be homeless. I mean, we've all been guilty of walking past homeless people before, maybe not presuming anything, maybe thinking a bit less of them, but I think it's important that we take some time out to experience what it's like to be homeless and the challenges they face on a regular basis, which is why I'll be sleeping rough at the end of the month for the YMCA. With modern luxuries, it can be hard to sympathise with homeless people's situation, which John says is a reason people should partake in the Sleep Easy.
But what we try and say is just give up your warm bed for the night, give up your luxuries like your TV and your games consoles, and just spend a night out fundraising, raising awareness, and being around like-minded people who just want to help those who are a bit less fortunate.
With over 100 people signed up in Grimsby alone, this year's Sleep Easy looks to be a successful one.
Matters in tiny minds. It's big questions for little kids, this time from Wybers Wood Academy.
should we balance our work and home life?
God.
You should do a timetable so you know when to go to work and the rest of the days you can plan your life.
Like, if your dad wants to keep fit or go to the gym, like, after work, you can maybe, like, do it during work, like, bike to work or bike home and then, like, do it during his break or do what he wants to do in his break.
I think you should keep a diary of when you're doing something and when you're not, so then you can be more organised and you're not worrying about anything.
Well, when you go to work, you could have, like, a certain amount of hours you work for, say about 9. And then when you get home, you can plan what you want to do at the weekend, like go out to the restaurant or go to the park or something.
Before parents start, like, make a commitment to the job, they find the right job. Like, my dad was a chef and he was serving the Queen and that, but then he wanted to spend time with me, my brother and my mum, so he quit and now he works somewhere else.
Well, I think you should have a holiday, because then you can have like a week off with your family and then you can fresh your mind.
But perhaps the most important question is what's going on this week in Waltham?
Thank you very much for joining me, Leslie. The question I want to ask you is what's going on in Waltham at the moment?
Well, at the moment, we've got a rather large and exciting series of events that are being held in the village. The Waltham Parish Community-Led Plan is being unveiled. And in this, it's a series of meetings for the public to come along and attend in order to give their thoughts on how the village of Waltham should look in the future.
And just to cut you off, I mean, that starts at 3 o'clock today. It's 3 till 5 at Waltham Lees Primary School. And what will people have the opportunity to see and say when they arrive?
Well, there's going to be a large 3D map of the village and a series of different cards available for people to have a look at, and if they feel that a subject of theirs is rather emotive, that they don't feel that there should be development in an area, or they feel that the school's at capacity and really we need some other either school or a new school, or where we're going to put the school children if it's at capacity at the moment. I mean, ourselves, like other areas, are aware that there's a call for increased development for the village. But we're not here to stop development for the village, but what we want to do is say to people, look, it's going to happen. Where would you like to see it? And what infrastructure needs to be in place to support the new homes that are going to be developed in the village?
And I'm sure Waltham isn't alone in wanting to ask their residents those questions. For people that may have missed that today or weren't able to attend, are there going to be other opportunities to see this plan and to have their say?
Absolutely. We've got 6 events running through January, February and March this year, and they'll be at different times of the day as well, different venues, and also weekends are included as well. And it's not just people who live in Waltham, it's people who come to Waltham who maybe have a shop or a business here, who don't necessarily live in the village but have connections with the village, that we're inviting anybody and everybody, landowners. Again, they might not necessarily reside in the village but own land in and around the area. Their views are important also. So, it is important to get everybody's ideas and thoughts. For instance, parking. We have major issues with that. There's not enough parking in the village. What can be done about it? Your thoughts are needed on this.
And also, Leslie, this is actually in the context of some quite large planning development applications of late. Tell me about them and what people's attitude is towards those applications.
Well, there's been a mixed view. As I say, people aren't adverse to having any development in the village, and we know that, you cannot stop progress, you cannot stop development. But what people want to see is it put in the right places, along with the infrastructure to support them. It's no good putting, 100 homes in the village if there's no school places for the children who live in those houses to go to.
I think everyone can understand that, Leslie. And just while we have got time, actually, there's just time to say, is anything else going on in the village, perhaps events or something that people might be happy about?
Well, as I say, this is our major project at the moment. But obviously, we'll be looking in the future. We've got anybody who wants allotments. We've got allotments available to rent. if there's people who want to come along and try their hand at growing their own. And we've also got things such as the Waltham in Bloom later on in the year again. And we're sort of asking residents to come along and show us how pretty your gardens are and let us know about it, and we'll come out and have a look at them for you.
Leslie, thank you very, very much for joining me today, and no doubt people of Waltham will be very interested to hear what you've just said.
Now over to the sport with Dan Kemp.
Grimsby Town's FA Trophy replay will be attempted for the third time tomorrow night. The original tie finished 0-0 back on January the 10th, but the two replay attempts have fallen foul of the weather, meaning they'll attempt to play again at Gateshead's International Stadium tomorrow night. Gainsborough Trinity hope to secure safety in the Northern Conference before reality TV star Jake Quickenden plays a game for them. The chairman announced last week that they were in talks to sign the celebrity, who was at Scunthorpe United's Youth Academy before appearing on The X Factor and I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. They said their first priority is to secure safety in the league, but hope Quickenden could counteract dwindling crowd numbers at the end of the season.
It would be great to get somebody like Jake to come on, play a couple of games for us towards the end of the season once we've got security, and bring a few extra people in. And yeah, no doubt about it, it's all about bringing people through the gates, and that's what I want. You know, we want to try and bring some revenue in that will get us through the outer season period and set us up. Maybe a little bit of extra revenue might help us bring in some decent players for next year and onwards and upwards into 2015-16.
In Speedway, the Scunthorpe Scorpions will begin the 2015 season with a League Cup match away to the Sheffield Tigers on March the 26th. They'll then face the same opponents on Easter Monday, which is the 6th of April. Team and supporters alike will be hoping they can make the playoffs for a second successive season, having faced the Somerset Rebels last term. And Hull Stingrays player assistant coach Carl Lozon is disappointed the side missed an opportunity for a 4-point weekend in the Elite League. And that's all for the sport.
Thanks very much, Dan. Just before we go, we asked you for pictures of snow to prepare us for the rough weather to come. Thanks to Calvin Taylor, who used our Facebook pages to send in this photography of Normanby Hall. Absolutely exquisite. Beautiful architecture and a sky that shows you how perishingly cold it is. Anyway, that's all we have time for this time round. If you have a story, please go to our Facebook or Twitter pages. Details on the screen. Email news@estuary.tv or phone Grimsby 315561. Until tomorrow, good evening.
Hello and welcome to Estuary TV's weather. Another cold Wednesday with icy patches. Flurries of sleet and snow are likely to become increasingly light and short-lived, leaving much of the day dry with bright spells and a maximum temperature of 3 degrees. Frosty start with isolated freezing fog patches Thursday, then mainly dry and bright, rain at times with some hill snow possible.